Do I look okay?
Yes, totally great.
Okay. Get enough light.
Everyone is starting to join this, and we will wait in around 2 more minutes for everyone to join. So in the meantime, hi everyone. Mr. Richard is in the rooms right now, so feel free to say hi to him. And if you have any questions, just put it in the chat box or a Q&A, because we will have the Q&A sections at the end of this presentation. Hi, Thắng. Hello, teacher Man. Hello, Thanh. Hello, Thalia. Okay, so I will start this webinar to introduce a little bit about Triplex and why we are doing this. So hello everyone, welcome everyone to join our Employee Experience Monthly Global Expert Chat. And here, I will share a little bit about Triplex first. So Triplex is a workplace experience provider where you can find like the best of both worlds, the private, branded, and professional office, as well as the service, engaging, and flexible workplace. So our mission is we aim to bring a better day at work to every employee in Vietnam. So currently we have 5 existing locations and 3 upcoming locations at the end of this year or early next year, which are Hàm Nghi, Nguyễn Như Dĩ, and Hoàng Diệu. So the Triplex workplace experience includes not only for the member-centric space, the flexibilities in working style and the hospitality and business service, but also the experience and program events that we design to our members, like social communities event, creative workshop, personal professional development, and mental and physical well-being. And last but not least is the Triplex Future Call, where we can improve the employee experience, and we have to bring like the values to HR community and business leaders in Vietnam. So you can see in the on the screen. So there are a few events that we have done, like the mini conference, the Gen Z in the workplace, the Fulbright Career Day, the innovation workshop with AI Vietnam, and one of that is the EX Monthly Global Expert Chat, where you can have the opportunities to hear the experience and sharing from the global expert. They are also the authors of the best-selling books as well, and like and also you can have like the opportunities to like interact with them in live. Yeah, so today it's our pleasure to have Mr. Richard for today. So last month, as you remember, that we have like the workshop with Mr. Paul Fagan to learn about like how to work with younger millennial and Gen Z. And you also know that they care a lot about the work-life balance, productivities, and the room for the development. And but it's kind of hard to do that as you know, and lately we have to work from home due to the COVID-19, and like it's changed to the another way of working, like hybrid working or work from anywhere models. So and it's make to measures or to like the productivities of the employees quite hard. And so how to keep everyone in a team productive and balance the work and life. So today we will know the answer through Mr. Richard Pollard. So a little bit about him is he specializes in HR forensics, benefits consulting, workplace productivities, and diversity and inclusion. And he served as an advisor for Silicon Valley Employer Forum, global advisor for the American Benefit Councils, and sits on the fourth HR Council. And he has a podcast. He also a podcaster. I remember, like called the Productivity Pod, and this is quite really interesting, and I will let him to explain later. Is Richard is also an accomplished playwright and finds time for a nap every day. Yeah. So thank you, Richard, for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay. Thank you very much. And thanks everybody for being here. Really wonderful to talk to you all the way over to Vietnam. I happen to be in our lovely state of Oregon, which is just north of California. And this is my place in Oregon. These are the beautiful trees that I get to be under all day and all night. So thank you for having me here. Greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm going to take over the screen now, right?
Before that, so because like we also want to share a little bit from Vietnam. Yeah, it's like we also invite Miss Yu He. She is the human resources specialist at Elsa Speech, the world-leading AI app in English pronunciations. So Elsa is rising star startup found in San Francisco and with office in Lisbon and Ho Chi Minh City. So because we're speaking of the productivities for employees for today, so Elsa is one of the best company that maintain the cultures and employee experience really well during the lockdown. So I would love her to share a bit to every audience here. So hello, Miss Yu.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here today.
Yeah, so yeah, could you share with us the strategy or the philosophies of the companies when you apply the new working models, and are there any obstacle around that?
So our first question is about the strategies of the company when we are working from home.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, before COVID, Elsa team already have 1 or 2 days a week to work from home already. But when COVID come, it's a little bit difficult that you work from home longer, and it's been all weekdays, and time flies faster, and it is more than 3 months already. And if you ask about the strategies of Elsa, I think we are working together on trust from the leaders and self-directed and management from the members. Actually, I think that self-directed is very important for everyone, not only members, but also for leaders. And your second question is about obstacles, right?
Yes. The obstacle, like, is there any like difference that you find is really hard, like to do as a work from home? Like, yeah.
I think that's not only Elsa, but all companies that working from home right now. I think the hardest thing about working from home is the bonding about among members in the team and also a team in the whole company. And the most complaint that I got from members is about time management. Since working from home, you like working all the time and you have to be available on your internal communication channel and also on email and mobile. So I think it makes sense that after more than 3 months working from home, it is really hard for everyone for bonding. Except for some team members, they have some daily meeting, so it is okay. But some members that they work individuals, they work independent too, so it's quite hard. That's why our country manager and Michael Ngô and also HR team also send some motivated messages every week and keep everyone positive and stay safe and take care of themselves too. Besides, HR team also think of many internal events to keep teams stay connected.
Oh yeah. So you mentioned about trust. So it's quite good philosophies like when you're working right now is, and our company applies as well. And because you mentioned about the internal event, and so could you share some activities that you do to maintain the employee experience and productivities for employees?
Yeah, I think that everything starting on June day, the 1st of June, because I just think of that it very suddenly. It's a kind of event that every members, they will submit their baby version. And on that day, I will prepare an online event and let everyone, all of the members of ELSA will guessing who is that baby in our company. And even that you could not see each others, but you can hear their laugh. And that's all I need. And after that, we also have a beauty of work from home. It's kind of what people think and what you actually do when you're working from home. It also brings some laughter. And the latest is who wants to be a vegan nurse when Ho Chi Minh City was in the lockdown, and the vegetable is very it's hard to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, therefore that the concept is quite the same with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but with 30 questions. And all members of ELSA will join this event, and just only 3 winners. That's why they get motivated to win to win this game. But finally, in the end of the game, that everyone in ELSA will get a box of vegetable, and the 3 winners, they will get the special one. Yeah. And actually today we are going to kick off another activity too. It's about the exercise, healthy and stay fit, but say the best for the last that I cannot public right now.
Okay, so I have to like update the Elsa on LinkedIn and also your LinkedIn as well. So today, you also have a chance to hear the experience and opinions from Mr. Richard. So how do you feel about that?
I think so excited because he is an international HR expert, and also I have read through his book already. So I think that it is very excited for me.
Okay, so this is like the really challenging topics, not only for us, but I think for everyone. So I would love to hand it back to Mr. Richard, the stage for you, so you can share the experience to others.
Okay, great. So that's time to do the presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to take over the screen.
Yes.
Thank you for that insight, by the way. Appreciate it. And thank you for buying the book. Okay, here we go. Work Smart Now is about compassionate productivity. And what is compassionate productivity? It's recognizing each person as an individual, just as you heard earlier, right? Identifying an individual's needs and potential, designing incentives around the individual with support, provide reasonable goals with stretch goals. Reasonable goals is not quite enough because employees, in order to grow, an individual needs to be out of their comfort zone. There's a nucleus where it's very comfortable, then there's an uncomfortable circle, and then there's a panic circle. You don't want to be in the panic circle, and you don't want to create that kind of environment and culture in your company where it's a panic environment or panic culture. And we all been there. We all seen those employers. Some of us may be working there today, but we do want to be in an uncomfortable place. You cannot grow in a comfortable place. And that's where the stretch goals come in. Whether you're in sales or service or administration, accounting, finance, marketing, whatever it is, we all have goals. And then we want goals that we can exceed, because it's the only way we'll learn and grow. And it's still compassionate. I'm not required to achieve the stretch goals, but we should still have them. And then continue to have employees remain accountable. Well, it's nice to be nice. We can't forget that we're working for a company or for an employer that needs to make money in order to pay us our salaries and our bonuses and to give us a certain quality of life. So that's essentially compassionate productivity. And you see the image there on the screen, whether it's on your right or left, of a helping hand for an individual to achieve what they want to achieve in their life through the goals at work. going actually through work life, I think there's a newer term I like to use than work-life balance. I like to use because life, I feel like, is part of work, or work is part of life, really. So work family, I'm trying to get that across to people more, that there's the time to work, which is part of your life. And then there's the time for family, your friends, your relationship, which is time where it's not about making money for the employer or yourself. Okay, so we're going to talk about culture and health. That's the plan here today. Here's our agenda. I'll address and show you the average productivity curve, which is not my curve. In fact, all that's come out of here, and the 5 buckets of productivity, the process of each, and the ROI, return on investments of each of these through compassionate productivity, is only research I've done that codified it and put it in a book that you can grab from and even use pieces of to enhance your lives, your employers' lives, your companies, and people around you. That's the goal. So let's go through it a bit, right? Now, when I go into a company, the first thing I try to assess is the company healthy? And we all know individuals who are not healthy, and whether they have serious mental challenges is another issue, but there are individuals just are not healthy individuals for whatever reason. It's not important why right now, but organizations also can be unhealthy and healthy as well. So here's a definition from the US National Library of Medicine, even, not my definition. One which strategically integrates employee well-being into a business objective and reinforces it through established practices on leadership support, learning culture, healthy job quality, and people-friendly human resource management practices. All that within the circle of your culture. It's not strategy, culture. A healthy organization is one that has a healthy culture. And the culture is your fabric of your organization. It's the part of the cloth that's woven in between. And that's the tightest part. And every organization has a culture. And whether they announce it or have promoted it, each one has a culture that's been developed. Defining is very important, along with all those in the bubbles you see: goals, strategy, success, teamwork, and so on. Okay, moving forward to the next slide. Here's the average production curve that I spoke about earlier. There comes a point where you can work a certain number of hours, and then your production and units exceed the start diminishing. It's called the diminishing of marginal returns. And it reaches that point after a certain amount of hours, and then your productivity just simply goes down. So I show this to employers, CEOs, CFOs primarily, and COOs, because working hard is not the solution. Working smart is the solution. Working hard is only going to make things worse in your organization. It's going to cause an increased turnover. It's going to cause disengagement. It's going to cause people to become sick. And worse for you, it's going to cause a decrease in productivity and then lower revenue, which means ultimately lower profits, lower earnings. I'm going to talk to you too about getting 30 hours of every day. Now we know there's 24 hours in a day. But we also know Albert Einstein's formula, E equals mc squared, which essentially says that time expands. It's no longer a theory, it is actually a law of relativity. In fact, any physicist will tell you that the further you get away from gravity, time expands. You actually, in some ways, get more of it. So I argue that we can do that here and expand our time on our planet Earth, in our souls, in our hearts, in our bodies, in our work, in our play, and in our sleep, by getting 30 hours of every day, which is on paper 24, but we'll see. You'll see how I'm able to hopefully convince you that you can get more out of life by practicing compassionate productivity. These are the 5 buckets of productivity that I've researched and came up with as part of my book. Absenteeism, presenteeism. well-being, engagement, technology, and work, optimizing your workday. Now, we're very, very familiar, all of you on the call, with absenteeism, presenteeism. And you're also quite familiar, likely, with well-being. Some call it wellness, well-being, similar. And then engagement, which has been actually quite new in the last 5 to 10 years, and that employers have been really seeing the value of increasing engagement. And certainly in the last 5 years is the use of technology to increase productivity. At the point too, by the way, where it doesn't hit the curve and reduce productivity. Just last week, Forbes magazine published an article I wrote, and I encourage you all to read it. It's and you can get it online. You don't have to be a subscriber to Forbes. And if you even can't get it online, I'm happy to send it to you. But it's entitled, "Pick an app, any app." Okay, pick 3, but stick to 3. Pick 3 apps. I think you can narrow it down to your 3 most important apps that you use in the day that will make you most productive, and stick to them the best you can. Now that goes into, when we get into technology, I'm going to talk about it even further, but I'm going to talk about one little piece of it too, emails. Okay, how many of us, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. I'm a global consultant. I work all over the world. It's a worldwide phenomenon. Are glued to their screen and glued to doing email, and almost can sit there an entire day just answering email. Well, the studies show that that is just so unproductive. And many of the studies say you should really only check your email twice a day. I think at this point, and those were studies that were done a few years ago. At this point, it's gotten too far down the line, or it's almost impossible to check your email just twice a day because the expectations your employers or coworkers, friends, relatives, and so on have on you. So how about 2 hours? Can any of us put a timer? I have a timer on my watch. I set it because I have difficulty controlling when I look at my emails. So I challenge you to look at your emails every 2 hours versus every 10 minutes or every 6 minutes, which is really the average. And then optimizing the workday, I'll talk to that, what that means individually for us, because that's the biggest bang for the buck for the employer. Absence and presenteeism. First, the definition. Absence is just out of work, away from your desk, for whatever reason it is. It could be very good reason. But it likely for a reason would be have someone absent because they're ill. Presenteeism, believe it or not, is a much greater. You see it in the 3rd bullet down there under cost. Presenteeism typically costs the company 10 times as much. And the reason for that is the person's not absent. The individual sitting there at their desk, and they're presumed working, and they're not. They're simply not present. Now, any of us that can say we're present at work and doing our work 80% of the time, you'd actually be in the 90th percentile. That is amazing. If you can say you're working 80% of the time, you're actually getting paid, that's an extraordinarily high number. Most of us are significantly lower than that. Some of us are down employers, and there was a Gantt study that will talk about, I think it's in this presentation really clearly, it's 13% or 35%. That's how engaged most people are. Now, I use the word "gone fishing" there because that's a slogan in the United States. I'm curious if it is in Vietnam, but they buy gone fishing, and then they leave, and you can leave emotionally, like I said, and just simply not be there. So the causes for all this is stress, heavy workload, lack of engagement, poor manager, right? Poor leadership really comes down to an awful lot of this. Poor morale and abuse at work. And it's an increase of burden on the other workers, the cost of a temporary replacement, loss of productivity, and so on. The measuring stick for all this, because we want to measure everything we do in business. In fact, I encourage you all to have your Excel spreadsheet, or there's other software programs, another app that can keep track of your time and where you add value to your employer. And if you keep track of it regularly and you go for your performance appraisal review, And you have that, you're able to prove to an employer, and I'll give you really specific numbers later, more specific anyway, that you've been engaged and you've been adding value. You can actually give an employer a number that you've added to the top line, harder for the bottom line, but the top line, meaning the revenue line, to the employer, and help the employer achieve the corporation's total goals. So you'll get a bigger bonus or certainly keep your job. Those measuring tools in this case for absence and presenteeism are human resource information systems, HRIS, and then these other two individuals who develop formulas in measuring absenteeism and presenteeism that's very easy to find. It's in the book, but it's also on the internet. So you don't have to buy the book to get access to these formulas that will help your company measure. And the key is to measure before. I'm going into a firm next week, and they're in the midst of doing engagement and team working exercises. I said, great, what's your baseline? And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, you should probably best to have a baseline metric of some sort of how many people are engaged now. Then you go in your team building exercise or your engagement exercise, or you do your steps to reduce absenteeism and increase presenteeism or become more present. And then you measure it again, and then you see the delta. And that measurement can actually turn into, you can actually calculate then how much more the company will make by the increase of people being at their desk, in their chair, less absence, and then increased presenteeism, which means engagement. And there's specific numbers that will produce. Okay. Here's an example of savings on a metric, right? Of an absence savings, 0.5% decrease in absenteeism. You can see in scenario 4, is 4,680,000. This is US dollars. From really taking an account and then up where you are and then making a change to improve it just by 0.5%. If, for example, if you have a 3% absenteeism rate, and that should be easy for you or your employer to find out, and then you decrease that to 2.5%, that's an increase to the bottom line there of a savings of 4,680,000 in this scenario. Okay, let's go to well-being. All right, these are the categories that I selected for well-being. They're common. Many of you probably have addressed these in your own organizations, or certainly heard of them or read about them. Emotional, right? Physical, financial, occupational, work-wise, work well-being, that means social. And then the metric for those are, what has that done by you improving well-being in healthcare costs, participation rates in programs that improve an individual's health, morale, retention, how many more employees have stayed with the organization than left, and a survey will help measure that as well. Now, the challenges for these, because well-being programs have now been in place 10 years or more, and I remember when they first came into play. I've been in this business for 44 years, so it's more than 4 decades. And I was in the business before there was such a thing as well-being. And I saw it develop. And it was all such a good idea, but all along it was very difficult to get a metric for it. There are some I'm going to show you in a minute. And then I found now many US large multinationals are pulling back on their well-being programs because they're not seeing the ROI. And our jobs as human resources professionals is to show finance and the CEO, no, these programs, if they're designed properly, we just don't throw out well-being to everybody for every reason. You find out the specific issues that are going on in your organization, attack those with well-being exercises and programs, and then show the differences. And then your employer will keep them in place. So they have to be very, very strategically designed. So in measurement here, United Healthcare in the US claims that for every dollar invested, there's $1 to $4 return for every dollar invested. Okay, $1 to $4 return for every dollar invested. Rand Corporation found money saved on disease management correlated to their well-being program. Now, disease management Don't know how much you see of that in Vietnam, but it's a much bigger topic in the United States than it ever has. And there is facts that if its diseases are managed properly, it will get the employee back to work faster, and the cost of the healthcare would be much lower. PepsiCo reported a reduction in healthcare costs specifically from the well-being program that they provided. Let's talk about engagement. Now, the image you see there of the three people, hands up in the air, super happy. And it's pretty clear they're at work, right? Because one of the men is wearing a tie and the others are dressed in work clothes. And that's what you're trying to achieve in your business. If you're able to achieve and have employees be that enthusiastic at work, it will be a major increase in your revenue. Certainly in everything across the board will be much, much better for you. That's the goal. It's really hard to achieve that on just at a very momentary basis, and then to sustain it's a whole nother issue, right? Lack of engagement, though, these will kill you. These are killers, right? Stress, heavy workload, we talked about that. That leads to lack of engagement, poor manager, poor morale. So you can see there are very consistent reasons for lack of engagement that there are for absenteeism and presenteeism. Now, the Gallup survey, right, of employees and disengagement costing companies $450 billion each year. Lack of approach slows down products, high turnover rates, employee theft, even unhappy employees spread dissatisfaction to others. And the real only way that I've found to measure it is through surveys, having a baseline and then making your changes based on the survey. That's going to help employees become more engaged. And then resurvey again, even 6 months down the road. Make your changes again, and then watch your engagement increase. By the way, just doing a survey increases engagement itself because it shows that you care about employees. And anybody that you know that cares about you, you know how that makes you feel. It makes you more engaged. There's savings from reduced turnover costs by measuring this, and reduced absenteeism. President, we talked about. Okay, everything going on right on your end? I haven't gotten any feedback. I want to make sure, Maya, that we're on track.
Yeah, I think you can continue. They will have like the questions at the end of the sections.
Yeah, I understand. It's just I'm talking a lot and I'm not getting any feedback. I want to make sure I haven't been disconnected. Right.
No, we're still listening really carefully.
Yeah, it's a whole different animal doing this than it is doing it in front of people when I can see when they're falling asleep. I can't tell. Okay, we're talking about engagement, right? I hope you're all engaged in the presentation. And if you're not, that's my fault, and I'm sorry. So technology, the number one issue there is, and this is just one I'm talking about, there's so many, but the poor collaboration. There are now a number of tools to help this, but 20% of wasted time tracking down information that might even be in the cubicle next to you. So there are all kinds of systems now in place. I hope your employer has them in order to help yourselves collaborate amongst each other. I always say in a presentation, I only know so much, even doing this as long as I have. And it's amazing to me how much I keep learning, and I'm so excited about it. And that's what keeps me doing what I do. But everybody in the room here, everybody in the call, we add up everything we all know, and then we know everything. But not a single one of us knows everything. A single one of us knows very little. So if you can collaborate amongst your teams, throughout your organization, when you have a question, you'll get answers that will save you 20% of your time, which is an enormous amount of money. If you think about your 20% of your salary being basically thrown out the door because you're running around looking for stuff that somebody else has at their fingertips. And that's an example of 1,000 employees, right? The cost of that is $15 million of lost time. You measure that through, again, reduced turnover costs, savings from reduced absenteeism and presenteeism. Okay, so optimizing your workday. This happens to be me. Just a few years ago, but still me today. All right. I have a treadmill desk. It's a stand-up desk. It has multiple monitors. If you notice, there are 3 monitors there. That picture over there is a picture of my wife and my daughter. So that's also helps me with my engagement, makes me happy to look at that. I have a microphone to dictate. And you notice I have a headset on to save my neck. Super important, because in the old days, we had all those phones like this, and now we have cell phones and people trying to do this. Fortunately, the mobile phones are so small, you can't really do that because you end up hanging up on the person. So we have most of us have earpieces, which help with that. This is the optimal working. I can go 90 minutes on this treadmill at 1.5 miles per hour. And it's the only thing I've been able to determine that one can multitask on. That means being able to do 2 things at once, because it's virtually impossible. The brain cannot do 2 things at once consciously. You can only, when you multitask, and the super bright brains, and we all think we're the brightest people, right? We can do this and we can do that, and we can do this. But the fact is, we have to shut off here to go over here, shut off there to go there. And it's a tremendous loss in productivity. Through every time you shift, the studies show that it costs you 10 minutes. It's just not worth it. Okay, so here's what I was talking about, a way to expand your time and also the actual cost and the increase of productivity. These are tools that are proven, not just my list of good things to do, but breakfast exercise. Use a transcription service for your voicemails. In other words, you get a voicemail, read them instead of listen to them. That'll save you an awful lot of time. Dictate your emails. Should be able to learn how to do that. Most of the systems now have it already in their programming. Keyboard shortcuts, use those. Optimize task lists. You have to have a task list. In fact, the 3 most important apps that I would choose when I wrote the article, I didn't put it in the article, but I'll tell you what it is, because the CEO asked me what would be my 3 most important apps are email, text, or MSS, right? SMS. And then anybody know what the 3rd one might be? My task list. And I use what's called inbox 0. And I move everything from my inbox. It's got to go out of there one way or the other. I either have to answer it, I got to move it to somebody else, which means delegate it, or I got to delete it, essentially. Otherwise, it goes for later into my task list. All right. And then on my task list, I work off my task list, not my email list. And the task list is always written in verbs, and it's always connected to my email. So I go down the list, and then I categorize what's most important on my task list. And then I move that up and do not have no more than 5 tasks that I need to complete in one day. Some of those tasks may take an hour or 2 to get done, but cannot do, probably 3 is a better number. And then you get to your other tasks, which you could even do the following day, and then you feel great about yourself. And then that feeling great about yourself increases your engagement, and you start liking it better at work and go, wow, this is a great place to be. But it's not such a great place to be because it's a great place to be. It's because you made it a great place to be. Because you kept your productivity in line, compassionately to yourself, took good care of yourself, kept your task list. You've only checked your emails a certain amount of time. You've really gotten the right amount of sleep. You've gotten, which is also really the most important things to productivity is sleep. That's all pre-productivity. We can talk about that too. And that's the early key, task list. Password manager, improve typing speed, avoid distractions, manage email. Now, avoiding distractions doesn't mean don't talk to me, I'm working when somebody interrupts you. Distractions are anything that is taking you away from you being focused in the moment. Those are the notifications that pop up on your emails or your phone's right there, and there's something there, I got to look at it. I was at the doctor last week and talking to him. He was talking to me, giving me my diagnosis, and his phone beeped, and he checked it. I was, what? Even here in a medical facility? Then I felt, I imagine, you know, I'm sure it's very, very hard not to do that when, particularly when I'm focused on somebody, but that's a distraction. Manage your email, avoid multitasking. We talked about that. Get enough sleep. Number one reason of loss of productivity, the day of productivity, is because you didn't get enough sleep. And the key to getting enough sleep really is, and by the way, the studies show all throughout the Center for Disease Control, the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, all these in the United States, the Sleep Disorder Association all say 7 to 9 hours of sleep we as human beings need. And if you don't get 7 to 9 hours of sleep and you become very braggadocious about how you're getting 4 or 5 because you can work longer, your body will make that up. Because also the fact is that you'll lose it in the back end. If you don't get enough sleep, your life expectancy decreases. So your body's going to get its sleep, whether you like it one way or the other. It's going to get it at the back end, or you can get it now. If you get it now, you're also going to be more productive and happier, because a major reason of depression is lack of sleep. Whoops, excuse me. Let me go back to this. I got so excited I hit the computer. So increase monitor size. You should at least have one 26-inch monitor, not work off your laptop computer. If you do, the best thing to do is add 2 monitors, 2 19 inches. That will help increase productivity. I know that does about 26%. And then, as Maya said, I nap every day for 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll go as long as 20, but try not to do more than 20, because then you get in the groggy stage. But 10 minutes of napping a day, I've been doing for, I hope I'm able to live forever doing that. But I know I'm going to be able to live longer, because I've been doing that for these 30 years or so. And it's something you have to practice, by the way. And it's something you should be able to do at work. If you show these statistics, and that it actually helps you, and there are others, and it's all over the internet, how important a nap is, and how that can increase your productivity for your employer. And there's even rooms now, I see them in organizations, they call it a wellness room. And people go there to take their naps. And they have a nice reclining chair, the lights are off. You set your timer for 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes. You're completely refreshed. So if we add all those up, the total return on investment for a company of 1,000 employees in the service industry, this is all facts-based, evidence-based, survey-based, research-based, comes out to a company will increase their revenue $303 million on a conservative side by taking steps to improve all these absence management, presenteeism, well-being, engagement, technology, and optimizing your workday, in addition to expanding in your life hours and improving them. Remember, you have to sleep your 8 hours, 7 to 9, right? And the world's round for a reason, and our 24 hours is round for a reason. And you break it up in thirds. We work for a third, we sleep for a third, and we play for a third. That family part I was talking about. And you want to get as much of that, all of it, as you can in your lifetime. Here's the steps to proceed. You do these on your own. You can call me. I can help you do it. But you collect data as much as you can of the past 3 years. You conduct your engagement surveys. You conduct focus groups. And you evaluate your top performers. What makes them most productive? You analyze your data. You report to your management on the results. This is the very basic. And your management says, okay, let's proceed with a beta group. And then you train on compassion and productivity, email management, multitasking, right? And that's and then you evaluate your results in 6 months, and you'll see the increase in engagement and in revenue. Your employer has to see that. Your CEO has to see the increase, or else he's going to take it away. Because it's just not, you can't do things that are just nice to do in a business. It has to have economic value to the company. Here it is in a placemat. It's much too small probably for you to see, but you're welcome to, I'll be sending the slides, and you're all welcome to have them. And then you'll be able to see these in much greater steps, but it's really no different than what we talked about. Just summarizes everything we just talked about here during this session. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to now stop sharing the screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. Thank
Okay.
you so much for your insightful and meaningful sharing. During your section, I hear that yeah, everyone like quite busy to taking the notes because they're afraid that they cannot present a slide. Yeah,
Oh,
so
I
yeah.
should have announced that ahead of time. I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fine. So everyone, like if you have any questions, so please feel free to put in a chat box or the Q&A sections. Yes, and we also received some of the questions, but it's really true and it's really insightful when I can hear like your presentations. I mean, last week I remember that I have a conversation with like my leaders then, so to talk about the work-life balance, like so we think we might think like work-life balance is kind of biased definitions. Like for example, like for the one who have like children and they have like life more than work, and for the younger they have work more than life, and not really like symptomatics. But now after like hearing your section, I quite enjoyed a lot because it's quite logical and is also by the way like quite scientific as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, got a tools and frame to do that. It's quite structured. And so I will begin with the first question is that from Ms. Chapman, we are tech-based startup. What should we be mindful of when we apply productivity tools and framework regarding our cultures of giving the employees the most comfortable environment to work in, the natures of technical peoples, and the resources of the startup company?
Okay. I love startup companies because you can do everything from scratch. Nobody's done it before, or everybody has a little bit of experience, and you can create something brand new. The very first thing to do in an environment today is give employees the flexibility they need, particularly younger employees, whether they work at home or work remote, work from anywhere, right? Even from another country, which is happening now. Give them the flexibility, give them the opportunity, give them the empowerment to succeed. Empowerment's a really big, important word here, because if you give employees the empowerment with you help develop their goals. You don't tell them your goals. You work together to develop their goals and their stretch goals. And then you give them the empowerment to achieve those goals, and you're there to help. Then they will achieve more than their goals and even more than their stretch goals. The only thing you'll need to worry about under that scenario is them working themselves too hard to please you. I've had that happen to me. I really care about my employees, always have. And they know that. And they would always say, we want to do this for you, Richard. And that's pretty much where you want to be, because at the same time, I'll also say to them, you have to take your holiday. You have to take your vacation. You have to, it's not a question whether you want to or not. I love that you want to work hard and that you care and you want to do it for me, but you have to take care of yourself too and your family. So I hope that's helpful. Let's start at this. All the very basics, though, but it's very important in a startup that you can't forget, because startups are very exciting. Everybody has a lot of fun in a startup. Brand new, we're going to conquer the world with our product and services. And you have an opportunity when you're recruiting, you say this to people, to be at the ground floor, something really big. It's not to forget that you have to actually achieve results and make money in the business. Even though you might be funded really well, the business always focus on accountability and the business results. Very, very important.
Yeah, I love the idea of like doing a startup exciting because I feel that the same way. Yeah, because like doing a startup, like you can contribute a lot to the business, and also like everything that you do is quite like the better you like it's always have to update it. It's quite like the better versions of what you do. Yeah. And the second question is from here who have a lot of question is Nam, who is General Director of Headhunt Vietnam. Hello, Nam. So regarding cultures, my question is, what do you think CEO from startup must invest time, money, and resources priority?
Oh, wait, repeat the end of that.
Um, What do you think CEO from startup must invest time, money, and resources priority?
Okay, the time, money, whatever you do, you invest in the people. In fact, I was surprised. There was a survey came out last year from the Society of Human Resource Management, and CEOs, it was from the CEOs, and their number one priority was growth. And number two was mergers and acquisitions, and like 4 or 5 were people. And it was very disappointing to see that. And I think if you're going to invest your time, if I understand the question properly, you have to invest it in the people and empowering them compassionately to achieve the goals that you set in your vision of what those goals will be, and to do it in a way that they can actually achieve it and feel good about themselves, because then they'll just do more. Does that answer the question? Does that help?
Yeah, so I will let Nam the time to type in the chat box to see like if it's true for the questions, but yeah, but I think it's quite true for startup to the time and money to invest in more in people. Yeah. So are not, yeah. now already said thanks for your sharing. 100% agree. Great.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I see that.
Yeah, so we have like the brief conversation before this webinar is about productivity guilt. So I will explain a little bit. So what is from my perspective and what I receive from other people is that like there are two types of people when working from home. First is like they're working too hard, like Miss Yu from Elsa's sharing, and another one is like they have productivity guilt, which means that when working from home or working remotely or work from anywhere, they see like they don't really contribute to the work 100%. Because like at the office you can count like 8 hours a day and then you go home, and but when you have the flexible hours, you have to count it by yourself. Yeah, so it's made called like productivity guilt, and which around like with arise among like young people. So what do you think about that, and how can we overcome it?
Okay, well, first, guilt does not achieve anything except more guilt and less productivity. It makes things worse. It doesn't make things better. I think that it should be very clear from your manager and your leadership what their expectations are of those individuals working remotely. Okay. And then if you're not achieving those goals, that's why working remote, and it's not made for everybody, by the way. Not everybody can work remote and do well at it. There are many people that actually have to be in an office to be productive. You know, there's those that have children that have the baby screaming in the background. There's those that have very small apartments, or those that have bad internet, whatever the reasons are. Or those that need the social interaction, and a lot of it, whatever the reasons are, we shouldn't require people to have to work from home anyway. And then they do so. The reasons for guilt, I think, is that they haven't been given really clear goals and expectations of what the employer, the business, is expecting from them, and then feedback. And that's not the individual's job so much, except to ask for it, but it's the leadership. And I know from working remotely, even before COVID happened, okay, I closed my office 10 years ago, because and all the employees except for 2 work remotely. And then because of the reasons I said, one was in a 1-bedroom apartment with his partner, and they just couldn't live together if they were working, right? Working and living the same. So we rented a WeWork space, right? We rented one of those spaces that you talked about, where people can work and socialize and also work. So closing the office didn't mean that the employees could go back and be unaccountable. they're just equally as accountable. In fact, I found it to be the opposite. When the employees were able to account for their own time of when they wanted to work, it really wasn't the time I wanted them to work, it was the results. And I was able to keep track of that and able to know it just by what the production was from the individuals. So I'm sorry if you might have productivity guilt. I don't think you should, and I don't think there's any reason to. Have your employer get feedback from your employer. And if the employer doesn't feel like you're doing your job, that he or she should tell you that. And then if you're doing it, you should have no guilt at all. And maybe you could do your job in 2 hours, what takes somebody 4 hours to do.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, I also received one comment. I think we need to have mutual empathy between leaders and teammates. Trust and responsibility is the key for that. Yeah, I think 100% agree with that. And as well as to set the expectation between the employee and employer is quite important. Like when you work remotely, and yeah, not like you don't want. Sometimes like right now when I work from home, I kind of miss the the experience in my office because it's make me more productive. Yeah, so but some person they want to work from home to like get close to their family. Yeah, so the key point here is respect and also like set expectation.
By the way, most employers are now going towards this hybrid approach.
Yeah.
Right? Where they ask employees to come in 2 days or 3 days a week, and then they can work remotely the other 2 or 3, depending on. Most employers are doing that. Some in the finance industry, Goldman Sachs, for example, the CEO says, I want everybody in the office all the time. And that's his choice. He's the CEO. And then others, for example, like Microsoft, give employees the opportunity not to work remote or to work from anywhere. Now, there's an issue there too, by the way, and those large employers are very savvy at where an individual works. For example, in the Silicon Valley in the United States, one of the most expensive areas to live, it could be common for a systems engineer to make $150,000, $200,000 a year. And then that same person during this environment that we lived in moved to Chennai, India, where the average salary, same salary, is half that much. And the cost of living is even 1/10 of that, perhaps.
Yeah.
So now the employer is saying, well, should I adjust their salary because I was paying them in that salary because of the high cost of living to live in Northern California. And they are changing the salaries. They are adjusting them now based on where the individuals are living. They're starting to do that.
Okay. So I think that we are still on the way to adjust the policy of the companies depends on the situations and also depends on the employees as well. Yeah. And like speaking of the productivity, you may advise for the younger people. So are there any difference in generations to use and apply the tools and framework that you can see?
Well, you could probably answer that better than I can, actually. Right? Because you're in that generation that employers want to track and keep happy. And it's harder to do so. For sure, there are clear differences. First, human beings are human beings, and they've always been the same with needs, basic human needs. All right, want to be appreciated. They want to do good work. They want relationships that are good, healthy relationships. We all want all that. Now, what has happened though, and it's taken a period of decades to occur, is that there's no longer the place where you get out of school and then you work for an employer your whole career. It's very rare to find that anymore. And it's unfortunate because you develop loyalty and skills and relationships and with your employer too, by the way, that go way beyond just something temporary. So what I've seen happen more with young people is that they're not going to tolerate working for a place that's not going to give them that to achieve the needs that they have, because there are options that they know they can go to. So it's up to the employer now, really up to the employer now because they need the labor, skilled labor, all over the world. In fact, they're offering certain cities in the United States are offering $10,000, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, $10,000 if you move here. We'll pay you, just the city will pay you $10,000. All you have to do is stay here 6 months and you get $10,000. So that, and then you can live in Barbados, which is a beautiful island, and they'll pay you to live there, and you can work remotely in Barbados, Spain, Netherlands, Germany. There's all kinds of places you can really, anybody can live, and young people can and do move all over the world to experience life more. And they also want more purpose in what they're doing. They just don't want to waste their time. And yet money isn't the top, I find anyway, it's not the top of their list. They want the opportunity to have a work family or work friends or work life, whatever you want to call it, lifestyle, not just have to work all the time. So those are the primary differences I see, the pros and cons.
Yeah, true for me as well. As I told you, I'm also Gen Z, so like I love working like in a flexible way, like flexible working hour, flexible working locations. Yeah, and speaking of the Gen Z and also the young people, so I also received one question. Could you give some advice to young employee how to keep being curious and motivated to learn new things so that they can reach out to new skill and be promoted in the careers?
Okay, so I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Give advice to young people in their careers to learn new.
How to keep being curious and motivated to learn new things. Like sometimes they're quite like demotivated and don't want to learn new things. Yeah, quite like that.
Okay, I think the biggest answer, simple answer to that is be patient. Okay. Learn one thing at a time, and then prove yourself to your employer. I have this now. We just hired somebody in the firm and right out of the university, and very ambitious and very excited, and he wants to travel and he wants to learn everything as fast as he can. And you just can't do that. It just takes time. I was that way. I remember, I thought, well, why can't I be the CEO of the company at 26 years old? I know enough, right? And that, of course, was very arrogant. And I had to learn an awful lot. In some ways, I learned the hard way. So be patient, learn what you can, and then ask. By the way, being assertive, not aggressive, assertive is very important. If you want to learn more and you want to do new things, you have to ask for it. I remember when I wanted to get in global business, I was in domestic business in the United States and human resources as a consultant in the consulting firm. And I took a trip to China. And I was fortunate enough, I grew up in the United States as a United States Army brat, they used to call us. So it was the son of a US Army officer. So we moved around an awful lot. So I was able to experience the world at a younger age a lot. When I got to be 26 years old, I wanted to go to China. And remember, that was a long time ago. I got 40 years ago. Okay. So that was before China was China. Okay. When it was completely closed and it was dangerous even to go there, as we call ourselves gringos, right? And then I went to China. I came back from China, so excited. I said, the world's turning. I want to be part of this international expansion. And my employer said, fine, well, you can do it, but we really don't see much future in international. And then I did it. And they sent me to New York. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. They sent me to New York to learn the international business. And the only reason I got sent to New York to learn the international business was, one, I proved myself in what I was doing. They were very happy with my work. They wanted me to stay in the company, and they wanted to please me. And they knew that wherever I went to, wherever department they put me in, I'd be successful at. And if that's you as an individual, and you can prove that to the company that you can make them money and you keep customers happy, et cetera, whatever your role is in the organization, then if you want to do something new, even move to China, they'll say, yes, great. We'll support that because we know you'll be successful at it. And it's patience. You gotta build some personal equity in the firm yourself first.
Yeah. About that, so there's one question. I think this is gonna be like the last questions because we are running out of the time. Yeah, but it's quite interesting because like we talk about a startup, like how exciting like to be in a startup, and also like how we can like have the entrepreneurship and the contributions. But there's one thing, like what is your tip to advise to the SME? Well, I think it's SME. Keep employee move to MNC. It's kind of like different things.
All right, now that I'm not following you. The SMC is a sub SME.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
a
written down? Let me see if
small,
to engagement. What is your tip to advise SMS keep employees move to multinational corporations? So I think, is that what you mean to
SME? Yeah. That's
a local company to a multinational?
yes.
Because I'm not quite to keep an employee with the local company, or the employee wants to move to a multinational.
I think this question is from the MNC company want to have to gain their employee back, because like right now like people want to have like their own companies and also work for their own
I see.
company a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
if that's that was me. Okay.
Yeah.
I was biting at the bit, we say, and that's an old horse term in the United States, but I wanted to get out there. I wanted to do more. I said to my employer, if they did put me in an international department, I said, and they sent me back to Los Angeles to run the Western region. And I said, no, you don't understand. We need more investment in international. Global is going to be very big, and we need to put more money in this. They said, no, we're not putting any more money in this. Go back to your desk and do the little work that you're doing to help our domestic business. All right. And so they lost me. I said, I'll go out and I'll start my own company then, and I'll show you that it's an important business. And I left. Now, if you're a multinational corporation, MNC, I guess that's what that means, right? And an employee comes to you with that same issue, say, great. How do we make that happen for you? Because the employer's got to be open and flexible and adaptable to the new workforce that we're under today, including your Gen X, Z, Y, quadruple Z, whatever we are now, right? So you have to be able to find a way to get people empowered, engaged, and then even, because these are entrepreneurs that want to start up, they can start up a company within their own organization. They can get funded within the MNC, the multinational corporation. They can run it separately outside of it by being funded, but still be part of the company. And that would have been very attractive to me. I would still be at that firm if they said, yeah, we want you to do it, but do it under our umbrella and we'll fund you. We'll give you the money to do it. Does that help?
Okay, got it. How about this answering them? Is that satisfy you? So feel free to put any like comments in this to discuss. Yeah, I think this is gonna be like the last questions of for today because we're running out of time. So thank you so much everyone to join, and also thank you so much Richard for like deliver like such a meaningful sections like this. Yeah. I think it's really insightful for everyone. And like last but not least, I will share a little bit. Like we keep doing this, the EX Monthly Global Expert Chat, to share the values to all the HR community and business leaders. So the next is gonna be in September, is transformational HR, the next stage evolutions for people professionals, is gonna be delivered by Perry Teams. He is the hosts the TED Talks as well, and he is the author of the book Transformational HR. It's gonna be on Thursday, 4:30 p.m. 33 September. So please register for this. So yeah, So I think that's all for today. So thank you so much for joining and stay safe as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
My pleasure. Thank you, Maya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Yes,
everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.